Hi everyone, thank you for joining this panel discussion. I'm super happy to have you for this session. As we were preparing this edition of Unlock 2021, we were thinking, okay, what looks like product experience in a post-COVID world? And what is the link between product experience and customer experience? And actually, is customer experience still a thing today? In a world without stores, where everything is digital. So we felt like it was a good opportunity to start discussing it. And so we regrouped a great panel of thought leaders that I'm super happy to have with me today. So I'm super happy to welcome Marcel Hollerbach from Products Up, Jim Herbert from BigCommerce, Nick Panagopoulos from TransPerfect, and PJ Utsi from Vimo. Thank you guys for being with us. Maybe I will just start letting you by introducing yourselves. Can you say a few words about you, your company, and what you are doing for this company? Marcel, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the invitation, Fred. My name is Marcel. I'm the CMO at Products Up. We are a Berlin-based e-commerce enablement company. We do feed management and product content syndication. So basically helping brands and retailers to syndicate their products out to the whole ecosystem of marketplaces, retailers, paid media channels, and recently social commerce.
Excellent, thank you. Jim, you want to jump in?
Yeah, certainly. Again, thanks for the invite. Jim Herbert, I'm the General Manager of BigCommerce in EMEA. So BigCommerce is a open SaaS e-commerce platform. So we're software as a service, but with all the openness of some of the other solutions. It allows our customers basically to go live quickly, but also build a solution that they really want to build to interact with their customers through their own experience. I've got 22 years in e-commerce, started in 1999. Bit of a nerd, to be brutally honest. Started out as a programmer, but ended up running the sales in my own agency back in the day that I ended up selling to Publicis Group. So been around a lot, worked in all sectors, and yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you for being with us. Nick?
Hi, everyone. This is Nick Panagopoulos. It's great to chat with you today. Thanks so much for inviting me here. I manage the Global Alliances program for Translations.com and TransPerfect. Right now, we're the world's largest company in the translations world that helps you basically go global. We help you do it in the most efficient way possible, saving anywhere from 40 to 60% on time to market and on costs. And we're a proud partner of Akenios.
Great, thank you for being with us. PJ, you're last.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm PJ Utsi. I'm a co-founder of Vimo. I'm also serving as Chief Creative Officer. And Vimo is, we're a full service digital commerce solutions partner, specializing in commerce platforms and payment platforms. We have helped, brands, retailers, and manufacturers to basically drive success in selling online. So happy to talk to you guys, and thanks for having me.
Great, thank you guys. And so maybe to set the stage, my first question, and again it will be a discussion, so feel free to jump in at any time. I think my first question is, we've been talking a lot about customer experience for the past 10 to 20 years, and I feel like nobody really have been able to give a clear definition of what customer experience is. And as we are talking more and more about product experience today, I just want to make sure that we can have a joint or common definition on what product experience really is. So would you have a definition to share with us about what do you feel is product experience?
Maybe I can start on that. I mean, I find it challenging and a little bit, because I mean, we work a lot. I work as a creative guy. I spend a lot of time on the customer side and putting the hat on of a customer and trying to figure out, what is the customer experience, where I'm in the journey, what am I thinking, feeling, doing, and all that. And that's pretty easy because we're all customers in one way or another. To switch hats and put on the product hat is kind of challenging. All of a sudden I'm a product, and do I have an experience, and where am I? So to me, it's still like the customer experience is still there. To me, the product experience is, I like to look at it from the customer experience angle. Which parts of the product, or what role does the product play in the customer journey. That to me is the product experience, or at least my way of looking at it.
I think it's a really interesting point, PJ. I mean, I totally agree. To coming back to that kind of experience, having been through e-commerce, for so long, and dealing with clients of all sizes, it's really important to understand that the customer experience from a customer's perspective, ultimately, and product experience is part of that. And I did a lot of work in financial services e-commerce back in the beginning, back in those kind of early 2000s. And it was really interesting where watching these big organizations kind of trying to project their internal divisions onto the customer, if you know what I mean. So, you can imagine back in those days, you'd go to a website, ring a number, and oh no, you're talking to the wrong department. You need to go and talk to this department. And we still get that, right? And sort of trying to separate off product experience from customer experience. A little bit of that, I think, is because of the lens we look at it through from a tech side. To an end customer, it's all about just, can I find the products I want? Am I getting the experience I want that's more likely to make me check out? And if you talk to some of BigCommerce's small business customers, they do it all. It is all one thing. But it's really clear to me that the product experience is absolutely key to that buying journey, especially post-COVID. Fundamentally, when people are going and looking online at the moment, they're quite often looking for essentials that they need to get to really quickly. And so the product experience is the core part of the journey, and having the right solutions to manage that is of utmost importance.
Yeah, I agree. And I think to build on that, my short addition would be a good product experience happens when the consumer gets the right content and the right product content on the right channel in the right context at the right time. So basically when context and content marries the audience, right? And their product experience and customer experience comes together again to some extent. But we have such a large number of different touch points now that the consumers today are engaging with. And I think it's really key to contextualize content in a way that it speaks the language of the channel and then also the language of the consumer on that channel, right? And if all of that comes together, I think that makes a good product experience.
How about I unmute myself? I would totally agree with that. So Marcel, I mean, it's funny, you stole my thunder a little bit. I work in the translations world. I've been in this space for over 2 decades. And when it comes to customer experience and the product content, they're yin and yang when it comes to what the user is going through. I've seen so many times where clients are not translating the product content, and maybe they translate a landing page, and it's kind of false advertising. Someone arrives at that landing page, they are excited about the product, they go deeper to look at the product, and suddenly it's in a language they don't know, right? It's in Czech, it's in German or Chinese. They're going to leave and go find another marketplace that actually has the proper product information in their language. And so I think the product experience is critical to the full customer experience. You can't have one without the other. And it's all about presenting the right content in the right context, as Marcel said, in the right language.
No, absolutely. So I think we all agree that product experience is a prerequisite to good customer experience. And I was also wondering, in this post-COVID world, we also seen a lot of people making a lot of retailers or brands investing massively either in one channel or another. Either they massively invested into their point of sales and to build an in-store experience that was maybe even better, or they invested massively into their own e-commerce website without thinking about how can I balance my efforts between those different channels. And it feels like in 2020, it has been a kind of reality check where we all understood that it was extremely fragile, because if one channel is going out literally overnight, all the efforts you've made are gone. And so I was wondering, is the product experience the core? I think that's our message, at least for our customers and prospects, saying you should start with a product experience, because if you can build a solid product experience, you will be then afterwards being able to adapt it to your different channels. But the core, I feel like, again, 2020 has been a back to basics. And now we should really be focused on what is our main job, which is selling products. So selling end products, and you need to start from the product. And so, do you have an idea of what are the main components of a good product experience? If a customer were asking you, okay, I understand that I need to improve my product experience, but where should I start? What are the key components that create a really good product experience?
I think I remember, probably it was even you, Fred, who said it a while ago when we met. A company has two relevant data sets, actually, right? The most relevant probably, and we can argue that, at least in the past it was treated like that, is the customer data, right? So that is what most companies regarded as their most relevant data set. And secondly, I mean, you have your customers and you have the products that you sell, right? So it makes absolutely no sense to invest in the one and don't do it in the other, because it's so key and so relevant for your business. And I think what you just mentioned is basically, you if you have a complete set of data, you are flexible enough to go to whatever, let's say, consumer touch point or say channel or whatever it is, right? You need to be. And when shops close, probably another opportunity opens up, right? The example last year, first lockdown, shops closed. On the other side, Facebook launched shops, right? Where people could start selling there. And if you are ready with your product data, with your content, you are able to capture that opportunity when it happens. I think that's super relevant. And last thing to mention is also you want to be as complete as possible with your content, because you need different kinds of content, right, for different touch points. You would not use the same content on Amazon that you do on TikTok, for example. This is probably completely going to fail. And also on TikTok, you might want to have different creatives and so on for different audiences. So I think this is super, super key. And if you have this in place, you can be super agile.
I like the Fred, you were mentioning is back to basics concept. And I really like that. I think it's a very effective way to try to have that approach when thinking about, building blocks of product experience. We tend to coach our clients to think about, input and output, or inbound and outbound. Like, what do I have? And do I have the right type of data? And what do I need to serve or deliver to the customers to get them to get to my site and to buy from me? So I think that's a very useful approach. Input, what are my sources? What are my images and assets and text and documents that I need? And do I have the right tools for that? And the other piece is, the output or the outbound channels. Like, how am I publishing this? How am I getting this PDF or this image or this video across to my customers? What are the channels and what are the devices? And I think that's a good approach to what I have going in and what do I need going out? And from that perspective, try to identify, am I missing something? Like maybe a PIM platform?
And it's a very good point, because I feel like we keep telling our prospects and customers, you need to build a great product experience, but sometimes it's difficult to understand what good product experience is or what bad product experience is really. And I was talking during the opening keynote about a story that happened to me during the first lockdown, where, like many people, I bought some food online and I was trying to buy a small jar of pickles. And just because there was no different images depending on the size of the jar, I ended up buying a huge jar of pickles when I was just trying to buy a small one. And I believe that something similar happened to many people during that lockdown, ending up with much bigger or much smaller products than what you were actually looking to buy. And that's bad product experience to me. Do you have some other examples you would like to share about what is good or what is bad product experience?
So I'm going to jump in here, because this isn't one that we've talked about before. Around Halloween, I was buying some additional decorations, and I had this advertisement pop up in my social media for this talking jack-o'-lantern. And it looked really cool. And it was a set of 3, and they interacted with one another. And I knew my kids would absolutely love it. I clicked to order it and completed the transaction. And I went back later to find out where my order was, kind of like everything right now during COVID. Where the hell is my order? And when I went in to look at the order, it had a picture of these little plastic pumpkins that didn't match with the ad I clicked on. And so I was thinking, oh, that's interesting. Maybe that's just a placeholder. And so the next day they arrived, but the box was this big. In the advertisement and in the listing that I saw, they were each this big and interactive and high tech. When I pulled them out, each of them was about this big, and they had a little on button, and they would sing, and you turn it off. There was no animatronic. There was no movement. And my wife came out and she said, oh, that's cute. Did you buy that for our 2-year-old niece? And I said, no, that was supposed to be like the centerpiece of our decorations. It was supposed to be amazing. And you know, to me, then I suddenly felt like the manufacturer was trying to take advantage of me, right? That it wasn't a mistake of content not being placed in the proper place or displayed in the proper way, but that they had malintent to take my money and screw me. And this is obviously the worst case scenario that a manufacturer could have, where a consumer is so alienated that they have lost all trust and never ever want to purchase again from your brand. And that's how I felt afterward. I'm not going to take responsibility for the screw up or not paying attention when I was checking it out in the cart. No, that's too difficult, right? I instead am seeing what I bought, seeing what I thought I bought, and seeing a huge difference. And that was very frustrating.
Seeing is, I think, a super relevant part of the product experience. And one of the sales hacks that we used in the early days of the company was we would go to a customer and we would show them their product catalog on any channel. And then we said, okay, now blank the image. Do you still know what product it is? Right? And that would surface oftentimes really crazy stuff. Yeah, you would have like cryptic descriptions in a title or so, and people weren't able to tell what product it is. And that point, you instantly knew something was off, right? And you come across it every once in a while. Still today, things have gotten much better thanks to companies like Akinio and so on, yeah? And people being more aware of the whole topic. But you still find it once in a while.
Marcel, I've got to say, it comes back to the customer experience and product experience from the previous question we just had. I leant forward a minute ago. This is completely unscripted, right? I didn't know, I didn't realize the stories are going to be around wrong things we bought online, but I ordered some garden trugs in the last lockdown. I'm doing a lot of gardening, and they look like garden trugs. I know exactly what they need to be. I have them in my hand, right? They were absolutely tiny. So, but the photo looks like one of the ones that are really large, okay? And the fact is, the data was there, because obviously with my wife laughing at me as I opened the tiny box from from Amazon, there's no point in lying about it. I went back to the site, and sure enough, the dimensions are written out. I just didn't see them, right? So the data was there, the experience had been done, but as a consumer, I could have sent them back, but they're hilarious, so I kept them. So that's where we got from. So I think, you know, I'd love to turn that into a story of a bad experience from a customer side or whatever. But actually, the data's there. It's how you surface it. It's how you get that out there so that it's obvious, particularly in items that might be unusual in that example. I mean, some other good examples, though, right? I think post-COVID, fashion apparel has been hit really hard, right? During COVID, because, you know, what's the point in buying new clothes when you can't go out ultimately? So, you know, IMRG did some nice stats recently, and they showed all the kind of great increase in online business, but fashion's about 1% up in the UK in particular, which is where they get their stats from. But, you know, there are companies like La Perla, companies that aren't a customer of mine, and La Perla is a joint customer of ours. But if you look at someone like a Gucci, who I worked with in the past, they're still doing okay, and it's because of, I think they've got a very good experience. You know, it's not a question of Googling, I need a garden trug. It's more of an experiential thing. So they're trying to recreate some of that store experience of looking for something, understanding it, having lovely imagery, you know, making a way maybe with some AR or something like that to really understand what you're buying. And I think for that kind of experiential purchase, again, you know, product experience is really key.
And it's interesting because all the examples we gave are mostly B2C oriented. And that's sometimes a question also we've got from B2B manufacturers asking us, but is product experience management really a thing in the B2B world? does it really apply also for B2B?
It's more so, actually. I mean, one of the things that we've, previously we talked a ton about omnichannel and this, that concept in B2C, that's important that a customer, looking at the phone, walking into the store, looking at an ad, they're experiencing the same thing. But in the B2B world, this is actually where it makes a ton more sense. For example, we have a lot of manufacturing companies and they still use printed catalogs. Imagine like sitting with a 600-page catalog, placing an order from a vendor, and I see different things. Like we have this idea of, content parity, right? I see the same thing in print or on the screen. And if there's a mismatch there and I'm ordering parts for my plant or my production line, it's a big deal. I cannot afford to order the wrong part. So that's one of the areas B2B where this like concept of content and data parity across channels is crucial, and it's often overlooked because we're all consumers and we like to default to B2C. But I think that product data and this like management of data across channels and making sure that they match is super crucial on the manufacturing side.
Yeah, I think it's super important. I mean, in B2B, you often have you have smaller margins in many cases. Depends on the vertical you're in, the space you're in. And what ends up happening and what we see, right, is that if the product data is incorrect, people are more likely to raise hell. They're going to call into customer support. They're going to go through all the channels that they can to get it remedied. And in B2B, you often you're required to provide fantastic experiences end to end, right? And that includes customer support. We have a lot of call center services that we offer for interpretation for when someone's making a call in about a product. And so this is one thing that I think is sometimes overlooked, because in the B2C channel, that whole customer support expectation being there is something that's been known for so long. B2B, a lot of companies are now going direct to consumer, but they may still also have B2B channels, but they're also just realizing, oh crap, but we need to have a call center. We need to have, maybe if we're selling internationally, call centers and support for multiple languages. And it means that there's a lot more to solve for. So I think that if the customer experience is better, or the product experience is better or consistent in B2B, then it puts less pressures and overhead into the total cost of sale. And that's true of B2B and B2C. But I think B2B is maybe still acclimating to this, because many B2B companies I'm seeing, at least during COVID, are going direct to consumer now and learning these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it comes along with a demographic change as well. Some of the B2B companies have been in a kind of like a grace period of beauty sleep or so, probably. But now also the demographics within those B2B companies, right? They're shifting, they're getting younger. It's a generation that grew up with Facebook, with Google, with Amazon and so on, right? They're used to a different experience. And at one point, they're also expecting that from their B2B shopping experience. So I think fast forward a couple of years, these two worlds, B2C and B2B, will blend. And we already, as you all just said, we see the early signs of that. And I think in general, that's a very good thing.
No, absolutely. And so I think we all agreed that product experience was critical for any type of brand, manufacturer or retailer, and that you have to manage it. And I think we also said in the beginning of this panel that it was not all about technology. I think building some good product experience is a mix, a combination between technology, people, process. So it's really a practice that an organization has to build, and it's a muscle you have to train inside an organization. So maybe that my next question for you will be, who should own that practice inside an organization? Who should be responsible, accountable for product experience management?
I don't mind going first on this one. Again, based on experience, not that I've ever necessarily seen it done 100% great, but that's an opinion. I think, like anything, like who should own it? It'd be the people who can action and make a difference, right? So whoever owns it needs to have direct accountability, but also the ability to have the product data improved, to make the changes, to have the budget, to have the headcount. So it needs to be someone who can. I'm not going to give them a title for obvious reasons, but someone who can make that change. So if it's an organization where they're taking a product feed and then augmenting it with some staff, manually, for instance, and then working with a TransPerfect or translations.com to translate it. That team should be under the auspices of somebody who controls that ultimately and has that ultimate ability. What I would say is, taking it back to the first conversation we had, that person should either be the person or report into the person who owns the overall customer experience. Somebody that the most successful organizations I've worked with have had somebody who is the customer champion, who understands what their customers buy, why they come and talk to them. And so, it's very important. I think we said it earlier. I think PJ made a very good point around it. Those people need to make sure that they're not working as a silo. Maybe it's Marcel, sorry. Working, not as a silo, but as part of an overall experience. That's really important.
Mm-hmm. And to add to that, I think it also depends a bit on the business case, right? And your model. What I'm meaning is, if you are a brand manufacturer and your main business case is selling goods through a network of retailers, the owner of the product experience probably will be someone very different than if you are a tech native company, e-commerce company that's basically started online, and you're having 10 million in annual or in monthly ad spend even, right? And basically all your marketing budget is based on a product catalog or something like this, then it would probably mean that it's more marketing driven, right? Your marketing team owns the product experience because they need to improve product campaigns and SEO and all that kind of stuff. So we often see that, right? In digital first companies, it's very different owners than if you go into classic brand manufacturers that follow a more classic go-to-market model.
I think one question we also have about this practice is that it's a new practice. It's a product experience management is a new category. So it requires a lot of education, evangelism inside the organization. Would you have a tip to share with some e-commerce manager, chief digital officers that would like to create more awareness, more exposure to their C-suite, to product experience management?
Yeah, this is, again, it's pretty much about back to basics and looking at what happens in the C-suite room, and most decisions are made based on a business case with an ROI calculation. Like, okay, this investment is going in, what am I getting back? And the core formula for online sales is pretty simple. Look at the bottom line. What is my total sales? And it's basically two parameters going in. It's traffic and conversion. Traffic times conversion gives me the numbers of order on a given day, and AOV, average order value, gives me the total sales. But just looking at the order numbers, is visitors to the site and how many of those actually are ending up buying something. And those two metrics or parameters is, how can I drive traffic, and what are people searching for? How do they even find their way into my store or my site? Well, a lot of the time it's search. And again, what do they search for? Well, it's product data. And the other part, like conversion, how can I improve that? What is making a specific visitor, pull the trigger? What is driving the purchase decision? It's a lot about like rational and emotional factors, like facts and trust. And, what is delivering facts, and what is, building trust? It's product data. So I think one of the basic messages to show how product data is actually driving those two numbers, and that ends up at, in an increased bottom line. And another version of doing the same thing is looking at, what is hurting my bottom line? Well, returns. Okay, what are people returning things? Well, wrong size, didn't look as expected. Again, why is that gap? Well, because of poor product data. Okay, simple. We need to decrease returns, and we can do that by improving product data. Those are some pretty basic tips that we find very effective.
All right. I think we are getting close to the end of this session. Do you have any other thoughts you would like to share with our audience?
I'd like to start with Nick was talking about, put yourself in the seat of the customer, and I think also I was talking about that initially, like CX versus PX. Is customer experience dead? Is it all about product experience now? And I think as easy as it is, and as valuable as it is as easy and valuable as it is to put yourself in the seat of a customer, one pretty interesting experience that you could do, which I think is valuable and should generate some interesting thoughts, is try to actually put the product hat on. And you know, one journey would be the purchase journey. Like, okay, I'm a product now, and I'm riding along the journey. And where do I see a customer? Where do I see a user? And what do they want from me? Are they looking at my images? Are they looking at the size of the box? Are they switching the AR button? Like, what is happening to me as a product in the customer journey, or the purchase journey, I should say? That's pretty interesting to realize, like, what role am I playing? And one of the things that we at Bimble see is like 75% or something like that of the purchase journey these days is product. At the end, it's a lot about payments and shipping and all that, but the product data is delivering like over half easily of the purchase journey, and it's happening on smaller and smaller screens. I mean, we live with these guys, and you know, we've migrated to digital over the last year to a much larger extent, but also with no screens. We're talking to devices and ordering stuff with voice, which is, you know, another way of consuming or thinking about product data. The other journey is the whole like inbound or the enrichment. Like, okay, I'm a product. Okay, I'm born in the ERP. I got a SKU, and now what? Like, who's adding images to me? You know, who's telling me which PDFs I should hold, and then, you know, where is my box size put in? That's another pretty interesting journey that one could make. Like, try to ride along with the product even from birth.
Absolutely, and I think, as you said, Nick, it needs to be a true team sport, right? So product experience is not just a technology problem; it's a people and a staff problem. And one of the areas where we recently discovered it again is we are talking to TikTok about launching a performance marketing product there, performance ad product. And then I was speaking to an agency, and the guy from the agency is about our age, and he said, like, all the people working on TikTok for us are 20, right? Because all the creative art directors and so on, so they need to be that young, because we just don't get anymore how we need to speak and communicate to that audience, right? And this is not at all a tech problem. You can see the results in the tech later on, but you need to have the creativity and the team and the energy from these people behind it. So my word on that would be, it's really, technology is the foundation, but then you need to have the right team in place to really make it work.
No, absolutely. I think what I like with our discussion is that it feels like we've been able to show and tell that, again, building those product experience takes more than technology. It takes people, it takes processes, and I'm super happy and proud to have you all around the table, because I feel like it's a good representation of what type of skills, what type of technology, and what type of processes you need. So really, thank you a lot for your time. I know that we are all extremely busy, and you are extremely busy in those weird times to help those brands, retailers, and manufacturers to navigate through this time of uncertainty. So thank you so much for your time. We are really humbled to have you as partners and as this journey, and I hope we will be able to talk to you soon again.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, everyone.